NOAA has just updated in February of 2024 the solar cycle 25 data, which shows that the solar maximum will occur in 2024 now. A total solar eclipse will occur on the new Madrid Fault Zone line on April 8th, 2024. A total solar eclipse always happens on a new moon. Full moons and new moons coincide with large earthquakes. The new Madrid Fault Zone lies upon the path of totality of the total solar eclipse that will occur on April 8th, 2024, at the same time now as the solar maximum is occurring. What effect does this have on the probability for a sizable earthquake in that region? We're going to take a look at that in this video. Let's start by looking at the astrology chart of Carbondale, Illinois, which lies on the path of totality of the April 8th, 2024 total solar eclipse. And you can see here the eclipse is shown by the sun conjunct moon. That's another way of saying it astrologically. And a total solar eclipse always occurs on a new moon. So it is a new moon on that day. And it's also in Pisces. Pisces is ruled by Neptune, which rules water. And so the theme of this eclipse will be that it will have effects that have a theme of water in them somehow. Waterways, rivers, lakes, water, events. This is the Solar Cycle 25 revised model put out by NOAA and the National Weather Service. It was calculated by the Space Weather Prediction Testbed, and this is February 2nd, 2024, so this is the very latest. The peak is happening in 2024, and so that projection has moved back to the sunspots maxing. This is the maximum sunspot number in February 2024. And through February 2025 will be the maximum sunspot occurrence. So this is the path of the total solar eclipse on April 8th, 2024. And you can see that it enters the United States here in Texas and comes up and travels right over the new Madrid Fault Zone. And then it starts to travel up the waterways through Indiana, Ohio here, and it runs through Lake Erie, Lake Ontario. It runs through Niagara Falls, and then on into New York. It even goes through Montreal, Canada, and out towards Prince Edward Island. And so this shows that the eclipse path is right over the new Madrid Fault Zone. It helps to look at a map like this. And so you have a total solar eclipse happening over the fault zone. You have a solar maximum occurring at the same time. You have a fairly strong now sunspot solar cycle that NOAA has projected. And the astrology chart, it's a new moon, and that is connected with larger earthquake activity. Science has proven that new moons and full moons are more likely to have occurred on large earthquakes, dates of large earthquakes. Here's the data I've collected, earthquake data on the new Madrid Fault Zone and the Northeast Waterways. It's from 1800 AD for magnitude 5.0 earthquake or greater. And you can see a trend here. I've highlighted the areas where the trend is. You can tell that all of these earthquakes, I'm not going to go through them in every detail, but you can see that all of these either started on near a solar minimum, or a solar maximum. And we have solar cycle strength from about 1855. We don't have sunspot data before then. That's why that's grayed out above. But they were associated with average ones we have, the average and strong cycles. Right here. Oops, sorry. And so also they are associated with eclipses. If the eclipse happened, you know, at the solar minimum or solar maximum, they seem to be, you know, add into the equation here of the potential for an earthquake, sizable earthquake. So people have asked, okay, well, why didn't an earthquake happen in 2017 when there was a total solar eclipse that went through Carbondale, Illinois, right on the new Madrid Fault zone, August 21st, 2017? Why wasn't there an earthquake, a significant earthquake associated with that? Well, you have to look at, you know, the solar cycle itself. For solar cycle 24 was a very weak cycle. And the eclipse in 2017 here did not happen either on a solar minimum or a solar maximum. As you can see, the maximum in solar cycle 24 was 2014, and the minimum for solar cycle 25 is 2019. So it's nowhere near either one of those. So it just doesn't fit the formula for when these other earthquakes happened. For the total solar eclipse in 2024, it's a different story because we have a solar maximum occurring. We have a projected average sunspot cycle, and we have a total solar eclipse on April 8th, 2024. An eclipse can be effective 2 months and before and after the eclipse. It's not just the day of. So you have to look at it that way. It's the energy that's projected into the earth that you really have to look at. So you kind of have the formula here for an earthquake. Okay, so based on the historical data we just looked at and the astrology chart, here's my earthquake astrological forecast for the new Madrid Fault zone and the northeast connecting waterways. A little bit of a disclaimer up front, you know, I'm not a geologist, I'm not a seismologist, I don't work professionally in those fields. So I'm basing this on my engineering and technology background, you know, analyzing the data and astrology. So what I see is a significant risk, and that's mostly through 2025 when this solar maximum is occurring, of a 5 or a 6 range earthquake. And I say that because it's now been projected to have an average solar cycle strength. There's a total solar eclipse happening during the solar maximum, which is also a new moon, the same thing. And the solar maximum cycle is now projected to be happening in 2024 into 2025. So, you know, that it's going to be there for a few months, even after the very, very top peak. So I would say there's a risk throughout 2025 as well of the earthquake happening during that high point in the curve. And for a 7+, I do give it a low risk because, and USGS does up to like 10%. So I'd agree with that in the next 50 years. You know, that's based on a 500-year cycle. And in my last video on the solar eclipse, I go into this cycle here in detail. So I highly recommend that. It'll come up at the end of the video for you to click a link to that. And so the last time we had a really 7.0 and greater is 1811. And so that 500-year cycle obviously isn't due for another 200 or 300 years. And, you know, there's other cycle factors involved in that. So you know, those aren't really well understood at this time. See definitely a 5 or a 6 because the is a significant risk because the factors are present for that to occur. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.